Joining me now, Jeff Yang. He's the co-author of this amazing book that I'm so excited about, Rise, A Pop History of Asian American from the 90s to Now. I love this, Jeff, and I'm so happy you're here. And I do want to get into this because the book is quite lighthearted, but also serious, which I love. And lately, so much of what our fellow countrymen hear about the API community is through the lens of racism. I love that this book is just a celebration of the community itself. And what do you think has been the biggest impact the API community has had on the culture the past 30 years?
That's a big question.
I know, it's impossible to quantify, maybe not.
Look, longtime fan, first-time caller, so glad to be here. And I will say, this is hard to really kind of choose between so many different ways in which Asian Americans have shaped America, right? I mean, if you look back, food, fashion, technology, cinema, as you just noted, Asian Americans have been a critical part of the way that America has learned to feed itself, dress itself, see itself in the mirror in so many different ways, and yet so many ways that we have not ourselves actually been represented. So it's really interesting now that we're finally in a point where Asian Americans can be visible for the first time. And that's a lot of what the book is trying to do, share the journey of how we came out of the shadows, if you will, and stepped into the spotlight.
I love that, and I really hope people go out and read it because it's quite compelling. I want to talk about Wu-Tang because I think the merging of these cultures, is so striking to me, especially some of the conversations that are geared by people outside of our respective communities. The takes are often wrong because when you think about how the two communities have merged. So RZA, in an interview with Washington Post just this week on Wu-Tang's martial arts inspiration, he talks about being a black man in America and how his history only goes back so far, and how he sees is like the ability to fight back and chivalry of characters and to represent teachings he learned. Now, I will date myself and tell you, I grew up, The Last Dragon was the movie to watch. So many of us, it's a cult classic. When you watch it now, it's like, this movie is terrible. There's so many bad stereotypes on every part, to the API community, the black community. But I still watch it. I'm still hooked on it. So when you guys talk about your flow chart in your book, cultural appropriation versus cultural appreciation, talk about that.
Well, okay, first of all, Last Dragon, I actually think it holds up better than I would have expected. I mean, obviously, it's got cheesy jokes in it and everything. Yeah. But the fact is, first of all, Timac still's got the glow. Yes. I've met the guy, and and he's legit. And I think that the biggest distinction when you look at cultural appropriation versus appreciation probably lies in respect, first of all, inclusion, and then context, right? And I think that when you look at the ways that African Americans have embraced things like martial arts, and for that matter, the way that many Asian Americans have embraced hip hop, what you see is that there's a genuine love for a culture that comes from across a boundary perhaps, but in many ways has become inclusive of all of us. And context is important. I mean, The Last Dragon is a comedy at the end of the day. It's a hilarious kind of romantic action comedy around martial arts. And the fact is, it knows how to laugh at itself. So when I look at Wu-Tang, and by the way, RZA has probably done more to evangelize martial arts culture, true martial arts culture, as well as cinema, than just about anybody in our generation. What I see is genuine love and genuine respect and genuine engagement. That makes a difference.
Well, since you brought up Timac, who still got the glow, I just want to play a quick soundbite from him talking about The Last Dragon. Take a listen.
The scenes in The Last Dragon, there was a lot of cross culture going on, and the Chinese guys scene. They were doing like the Temptation dances and stealing from the Temptations and
talking black. Here, chump. The master don't see nobody, especially no jive coolies.
Yeah, and I was walking around like with a coolie hat and like being Asian. And I totally get it. I think that it's always a healthy thing if you're stealing from each other, but in a positive way.
The Last Dragon certainly did that. Show enough, Timac. We appreciate that. So listen, Ronny Chieng happens to be one of my favorite comedians, and I think he also does a lot at changing the national conversation around the API community, and he's in your book, actually. But take a listen to this soundbite from him, and then we'll talk about it on the other side.
Wait, so Uber drivers aren't picking up passengers with Asian-sounding names because they're afraid of the coronavirus? Yo, if anyone's taking a health risk in an Uber, it's me, okay?
really, honestly, Jeff, I'll tell you, I have no purpose in playing that soundbite other than a fangirl on Ronny Chieng. But please, can we do it together? Talk about your love for Ronny Chieng before we close this out.
Well, first of all, Ronny is brilliant. He does a better job of skewering a lot of the ways in which we as a culture here in America and in the West in general just are hypocritical about racism, about difference. And I got to say, that one line shows that increasingly Black people and Asian people have another thing in common. We also are not getting picked up by cabs. So that's something we got to deal with together. But yeah, Ronny is brilliant. And it's part of the ways in which I think the world is opening up to different kinds of voices and laughing at things in a way that I think.
I completely agree. And I do want to say that your co-author, Phil Yu, runs a wonderful blog that I read regularly, Angry Asian Man, so folks should check that out. And thank you so much, Jeff Yang, for being here. We really appreciate it. We need to have these conversations ongoing, so you'll have to come back to the show very soon. Thank you for being here.
Anytime.
Thank you, sir.